Kristin. I am so happy you're here.
Hello, Kim. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, good. I have taken so many of your classes, and I find them to be so challenging, but they're also very motivating. You're positive, and I think your music is awesome. And
thank you.
And you're very informative, and you always talk about like your music and how you do things. But after I kind of researched some, but also you talk about this in your classes a lot too. So I think up to this date, you have such an interesting life, and you have flowed through your life. And I feel like you have a lot to share about being open to opportunities or making opportunities happen, because you've done a lot. Like you've acted, you've written book, you were the first to do the MTV videos. Mm-hmm. You helped start the platform for the yoga classes at Peloton.
The first yoga hire.
Yeah.
Actually, Colleen Seidman had done a few yoga classes on the app prior.
Okay.
But they were just these static classes that were in the library, and that's when I reached out to them and said, "Are they doing like live yoga classes?" And they were like, "I don't know. We'll see." Then they called me in a month later and said, "Yes, come in and audition. We're going to launch a yoga program."
Okay, that's awesome. Yes. Okay. So and you have 3 boys.
Yes.
And the 2 youngest being twins.
Twins, 5.5-year-old twins.
Okay. And then you seem very close to your parents, but you have a very busy life, and you look awesome, and you seem like you've got everything all together. So I think people would love to hear kind of how you got to where you are. Like, how did this all start, and how do you do it?
Okay. I like how you said I've flowed through my life, because it is like a yoga flow. There's always this dance of how much do you hold on to and how much do you let go, and being open, like you were saying, to opportunities and sticking with what you feel is your desire and your potential, and really following your passion, and doors keep opening. So I feel very blessed and grateful that along the way all these great opportunities have come, but I've also been prepared to take the opportunities. Mm-hmm. So I first moved from Idaho to New York City to study acting at NYU. That is where I discovered yoga, and this was in the 90s, before yoga was cool. Yeah. And so I was going to this little Jivamukti yoga center, and every single day I would take class after my acting classes. And then when I graduated with my BFA, I started teaching yoga to support my acting career. So I would teach at the local health clubs and gyms, and it was at a gym where I was teaching that an MTV producer happened to be in my class and said, "Do you have a headshot on you?" And since I was an acting professional or pursuing an acting career, I happen to have a headshot. So I said, "Here's my headshot." She brought me in and cast me as the first MTV yoga instructor. And I choreographed and led and hosted the entire DVD. Then we went on to do 3 more DVDs for MTV, Yoga and Pilates. After that, I hired my own production company and started producing my own DVDs. Mm-hmm. And then I noticed kind of like the flow you were talking about, things started to shift and change in the industry. So I thought, well, should I get into some YouTube videos? Or I started working on the Home Shopping Network and writing for Health Magazine.
Okay.
And that was really fun. And then I did a project with Bethany Frankel, Real Housewives. And at that point, I noticed that things were starting to really go digital, that people weren't really making DVDs much anymore. And it was in 2015 I did a project with Robin. And then in 2018 is when I reached out to her and said, Peloton I love what Peloton is doing, and I would love to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. But you've also trained a lot of famous people.
Yes.
And then you got to be on 30 Rock.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's super fun. Steve Martin is still one of my clients to this day. And as a matter of fact, Steve and I collaborated on an artist series for Peloton, because he plays a banjo and sings, and he produced a musical with Edie Brickell, which is fabulous, Bright Star. It should have stayed on Broadway, I think, a lot longer than it did. So a lot of the music from that musical, and then other songs that he'd written over the years. So I put together a really neat playlist, and he and I collaborated on the class and on the playlist. And Tony Calandra, who's our music director, was like, "I can't believe how that all worked with yoga," because sometimes you think, is banjo music really going to set the scene? But it was it's still on the app, so it's a fabulous class.
No, I did that class. That's how I knew about that's why I said that about the music. You tell a story about a lot of the music that you did. Like you'd say, "I sang this with my brother or my dad," or
yes, like my older brother sang with ABBA.
Oh, I didn't.
This is a fun story. We were living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My parents met in a musical, and they were the ones who were always inspiring us to perform and to create. My dad still plays in a band, and so does my older brother. And he was part of the children's.
Like the kids ABBA.
Yeah,
group?
it was a kids repertoire group, and it was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And then he was somehow picked or chosen to sing with ABBA. And,
oh my gosh, how
to this
exciting!
Day, And now it comes full circle because my older son, Timothy, is in a youth performance choir here in the city. He just auditioned and made it into that. And
Wait, how old is he?
9.
Okay, that's
and
exciting.
I'm so proud of him. But through Steve, who's been just the best client and yogi and friend, he had introduced me to Sean Levy, who wrote the script for Date Night.
Okay.
And he was working on the Pink Panther with Steve, the second Pink Panther. So Sean reached out to me and said, our leading lady would like to do some yoga. And it was Tina Fey.
Oh,
so
my
then I started
gosh.
working with Tina Fey, and that was the big pinch me moment because
Yeah.
I absolutely love her. And she was the one who told the casting director to bring me in for an audition for a part, the yoga aerobics instructor on 30 Rock. And so I got that part, which was so fun.
Because it was like a reoccurring role for how long?
It was in season 4.
Okay.
And I was Jason Sudeikis'.
Like the whole season?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. It was really awesome. And Leanne Rimes, who's incredible. Jennifer Lawrence, I've worked with, who's super fun. Emilia Clarke, which I was working with her when she was doing, she was playing, it was Breakfast at Tiffany. So she was Holly Golightly on Broadway, and this is right, I think she'd only done the first episode of Game of Thrones. Wow. And my niece was in town and was obsessed with it, so she took a picture with her, and I was like, wow, I wish I had gotten some pictures with Amelia, because before you know it, it's, she's a lovely, lovely young woman.
Wait, so how did you end up doing Pilates with her or yoga?
Oh, and I was working with her 3 or 4, sometimes 5 days a week.
Oh, wow.
I think it might have been through Jennifer Lawrence's manager or publicist, someone in that world or that connection said, I have another young star who's in New York right now who really would love some privates.
Wow, that's exciting.
And I was fully pregnant with Timothy at the time.
Oh, you were?
And 5 days after I gave birth to Timothy, I went and worked with her, and my mom came with me.
Oh, my gosh.
And she held Timothy in the lobby. And then same with Savannah Guthrie, who I absolutely love. I saw her maybe 4 or 5 days after I'd given birth to Timothy as well.
Oh, my gosh.
So.
Well, I bet you were in pretty good shape.
I feel like I was because of my yoga practice. And I think what's nice about my profession, what I love the most about it, is I can definitely incorporate my boys into what I do. So they see me practicing or doing yoga. They do it with me. When I was first back into teaching private clients, this was before I was working at Peloton. This was like 2013 he was born. I would strap him in my Bjorn, the baby Bjorn, and walk across Central Park, and I would see my clients, and they loved it because they were so excited to see a little baby, and he would behave. And then, so he was like teaching with me for a majority of those first couple of months. I didn't want to hire a babysitter or a nanny at that point.
Yeah, because they were too
first
little.
And then you're so close to them.
I love to watch on your Instagram page. You'll do stuff with your boys, like in the bathroom. And
Yes.
I love to see that. That's so fun. You're a hands-on mom. But you have a very busy schedule. How do you manage to, just because I was looking at something, and I don't know if this is still true. This is what it says about, I like to work out, but so your weekly workout is like 1 to 2 upper body strength sessions, 2 lower body, 2 to 4 Pilates, 4 yoga plus cardio. And I'm like, damn, that's a busy week.
And I think it's something where even today, before I came, I taught my Pilates class at Peloton, so you could count that as 30 minutes of Pilates. But then I went and saw my physical therapist, and we do a lot of lower body strength work together because of all the yoga that I do. He jokes. He's like, you're the only person I would tell not to stretch when you're not teaching. He's like, just strength train. And it's more about stability and strength for me as opposed to that flexibility. And because I am so hypermobile when I'm teaching so many yoga classes. So it is that I do a lot of it, but it's not that I spend hours doing it, if that makes sense. So I always like to let people know that it can be bite-sized amounts. If it's 10, 15 minutes of lower body strength, that's better than nothing. So if I taught 30 minutes of Pilates and then did 15 minutes of strength, it's really still only 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
Of working out. It's just that you're focused when you're doing it. And for me personally, I like the variety and the cross training.
Yes.
So I like to incorporate a couple days of cardio when I can, and I like to get the core work, and I like to get some strength, and I love to get the flexibility.
So what's your go-to, like, you have to do every day? Is there one thing you love to do?
The one thing that I cannot miss is meditation.
Oh, really?
It's 20 minutes twice a day. The first one is first thing in the morning. So I roll out of bed, whether it's 5:30 or 6 a.m., and I sit for 20 minutes. And I find that that's a lot of times the missing piece in anyone's health and wellness is just spending time with yourself, quiet time, getting to know yourself, quieting your mind. And it helps you become clear, and it really helps you learn to be more responsive and less reactive. And I think that helps in every walk of life, you know, whether you're a parent or you're a professional, you're in sports, you're a businessman or woman, you're a doctor, a lawyer. It just thinks it's one of those things that really helps get us centered.
Well, they say like even medically in the brain, they can see that it changes it, even if you just do it for a few minutes every day, but you do it twice a day. So when do you do it at night?
So that oftentimes, so now I'm lying because sometimes I'll do it 3 times a day, but the third one is more of I listen to a guided meditation in bed with my son because he likes to listen to meditation to fall asleep. But I've been doing Vedic meditation where it's 20 minutes. The second one I usually will get in right around this time, like 1:30 or 2 o'clock. It's almost like a refresh before the second half of your day.
Did you say Vedic?
Vedic, VEDIC.
Okay.
And you get a mantra, and from a professional meditation teacher who's been doing it for quite a while. They'll give you a mantra, and it's just something that you repeat in your mind. And then you want to let the mantra, you're nonchalant about it. You don't have to focus too much on it. If you think of other things, that's fine. As a matter of fact, he'll say it's okay to get lost in thought or lit.
Okay.
So it's okay if your brain is going.
I like that lit.
That's really what you're doing is you're just letting your brain kind of act like a wash machine. And you go for that 20-minute cycle. You don't want to open the lid too soon, right? You want to wait until the rinse and the spin and everything is settled. And then you kind of feel like you're clean again and you can go back out. And then there's going to be those hard knocks that come your way. There's going to be stressors. That's why the second meditation is kind of nice because then it gives you a second opportunity to refresh.
What did you start out doing? 20 minutes is a long time. Like I do a 10 or 15 minute like with an app and it's somebody talking the whole time, but I'm still like, get the fly out of my head. There's another.
Right?
Yeah. So.
And our meditations on Peloton are so wonderful in that regard because we have 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, even 30 minutes for sleep. A lot of people say like they want a little bit longer at night if they haven't quite fallen asleep. And I've always done 5 or 10, 15 minutes in the morning. That's my sweet spot. I love to wake up and do it first thing. But it was after I dove a little deeper into the Vedic meditation and the reasoning behind the 20 minutes and why 20 minutes is just enough. You don't have to do any more, but it is kind of nice to allow yourself enough time. It's kind of like when you start working out, you might only be able to run for 5 or 10 minutes, but to really get that good little runner's high, 20 minutes is kind of nice, 20, 30, but I think it's more of just being able to sit long enough as you become a little more experienced in your meditation.
Okay. I did notice on your Instagram too, there was a book signing, I guess, with a...
That's Light Watkins.
Okay.
He's a Vedic meditation teacher.
So what do you mean they have to give you the mantra? Like you could read it or would it be on an...
You could. I think there's bija mantras, which are, so the mantras in Sanskrit, and Sanskrit words have meanings, but the bija mantras have actually no meaning attached to them. They're just more like sounds, like primordial sounds.
Okay.
Like a sound you'd hear in nature, so that you don't attach to a thought.
Okay.
It's more just like ka-ring or ka-bing or ka-ling or, like two things that you might be saying in your mind just to keep bringing yourself back on track.
Okay. That makes sense.
Aren't you not allowed to reveal your mantra? Is that something too?
You kind of don't want to share your mantra. You don't want to Google your mantra. You don't want to look it up. You don't want to, it's just like a little reminder, and it's your own little special reminder that when you drop in your meditation, and then eventually if you get seasoned at meditating, you almost don't need the mantra anymore.
Oh, okay.
You almost just close your eyes and you're like, this is my 20 minutes to sit.
That's cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so I noticed on your website that besides doing the Peloton, I don't know if you still do this anymore, but you had that 21-day for moms after they have
that
babies.
I made so long
you
ago.
Did?
Yes.
I kind of went down a big rabbit hole.
I actually need to look at it and refresh it. It was like a PDF guide. I did that after I had my twins in 2016 because I had a lot of moms reaching out to me.
Yeah.
And saying, this was really fascinating to me. With Timothy, I had an unmedicated vaginal birth, and it was fine. And like I said, I was teaching clients within 10 days, 2 weeks. Maybe I don't recommend that to everyone, but after Timothy, that's how I felt fine. But then I had a C-section with my twins, and I had carried them almost full term, and
wow.
so I developed a diastasis or a diastasis. So that's where the front surface of your abdominal split, the linea alba, and there's this connective tissue that usually kind of bounces back. But for some women, it actually tears, and you end up having like a little gape, and then it leads to these little pooches sometimes. Like a woman might lose the weight that she gained during pregnancy, but she still looks like she has a pot belly, and it's mainly because there's no longer that connective tissue to hold things in. So I went into a deep dive of what is diastasis, how do you fix this, how do you get your abs to, so a lot of women, it can be physical therapy, breath work, posture, and certain core exercises to strengthen your transverse abdominals, and then you would not need surgery. Some women opt for surgery eventually, and some women just might need it. But that's when I was like, let's do this body back. Like, how can you help get your body back? And now I almost want to reframe it to not body back, but like, because I don't think you ever are back to where you were before kids.
No,
it's more like getting back into your body.
Yeah.
You know, let's get back into our body now that it's in this place. Yeah. You know, after having 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, however many kids you have, or even if it's 10 years after having kids. Because a lot of women will reach out to me and say, oh my gosh, I think I've had diastasis. My kids are 6 years old now. Is it too late to work on rehabbing that area? And it's absolutely not.
I did think like you weren't supposed to do abs and things if you had that. Like
There
normal ab exercises you weren't supposed to do if you had that or something.
Certain exercises you need to be careful of. So you can actually build back up to possibly doing planks depending on the abdominal control that you develop. What happens is it's a lot of times it's pressure management. Women don't know how to manage pressure anymore, so they bear down or bear out on their abs when they're holding a plank. So as opposed to finding that natural scooping in and up or knitting together in that area, it puts too much pressure, and then it just makes the diastasis worse.
Oh.
And diastasis can happen in men as well.
Oh, really?
And that's where like hernias can come into play. And
okay.
You know, like umbilical hernias, or you see that's where sometimes if the split's so pronounced, that's where like some of your organs start to come through, right? So that's when you would maybe need surgery, or you really have to work on managing that pressure. But sit-ups, for instance, sometimes people tend to like bear down and push out when they sit up in a sit-up, as opposed to a scooping and a lifting and coming into like a really great crunch that's not going to. So it's relearning how to do a lot of those exercises and getting enough strength through them. I always like to tell women and men that you'll never not be able to do them again, but we have to just work backwards, kind of unlearn a lot of things that we've done. And really, it's like if you sprained your ankle, you're not going to go run on it. It's kind of the same thing. If you just had a diastasis, you're not going to go do a bunch of core work. We want to really take those baby steps to get strong again.
No, that is interesting to know, because that I know a lot of people who've had hernias, and I never understood exactly why that happened. So how would someone, knowing that you've said that right there, when they start on Peloton, is it best to start with just like the beginner classes that you do and work your way up?
For yoga and for Pilates and for a lot of people who are brand new, definitely. We have an incredible intro beginners 30-day program for people that want to start from the very beginning to learn the philosophy behind the yoga practice. Where do I begin? How do I breathe? I think that's very beneficial for someone who's already been practicing. They can jump in and take.
No, it is. Joe and I thought we were so good because we've been doing yoga at the gym, and then when we started doing the classes, we were like, well, we're going to go back and learn how to do some of these. So we were doing the intermediate. But when you go back to the beginning, you're like, that class is harder than intermediate because I'm not holding it right. Yeah, and we're like, I'm dying.
I agree. Teaching a beginner's class is harder sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, because you're so much description and holding the pose longer.
And doing it right.
And doing it right. Yes. And that's what's so beautiful about yoga, I feel. Like there's always a place to progress to. There's always something new to explore, to learn. And there's so many postures, and you're always a different person when you step on the mat. So it's just so fascinating. We have the Yoga Basics library as well, and that's really awesome because that's where we break down the individual poses into little tutorials.
Yeah, like some people who, and I had a hard time doing what's it called when you do the down dog and then you go into your vinyasa?
Yes.
That I would always hurt my shoulders.
And up dog. Yep.
So I had to go back and kind of watch that. It is very helpful.
It is helpful, isn't it?
So walk us through a normal day for you with the boys and work and everything. How do you what is your day like?
So I wake up, I meditate, I roll out of bed, and it's the very first thing I do. I have my own little corner on the couch with a fuzzy blanket that I sit there for 20 minutes. After that is when I will get coffee and breakfast, and I'll sit down and eat, and just because again I think it's really important to nourish yourself first. Then I'll make their breakfast and make their lunches for the day. So I love to like set out their little bento boxes and fill up their lunches. Then they usually wake up around 7. And so I'll get them dressed and get them ready for school. I have an amazing nanny, Damaris, who's been with us since the twins were born, and she's incredible. So she'll come on the days that I go into work a little bit later. I'm very lucky. I get to walk the boys to school, and then I jump on a city bike or an Uber or a subway and get down to work. On the like Monday morning, my call time is 6:45. So she'll meet me at 6:30 and walk the boys for me. But I still like to have everything set and ready. I like to put little notes in their lunch boxes and stuff too to remind them. And then after I teach, a lot of times I will stay or I'll find a place to work on my class plans and a quiet space, because that's where we build all of our playlists. That's where we do our sequencing, what I want to teach in my 80s Pilates flow, what I want to do in my 45-minute grounded yoga flow, a meditation that I want to record on the audio days that we record. So I'll get all my class plans and I start listening to music. I always like to bring in new music and try and experiment with my playlists. I have physical therapy sometimes, or I'll take a Pilates class on the reformer, on the equipment. I really love to go to my friend's studio where I get to have my own class. It's one thing teaching. I'm still doing the exercises, but it's also different when you're really focusing on just your own body in your own workouts. And then depending on what time it is, sometimes I'll have meetings, Zoom meetings, or in-person meetings now, which are great. We're starting to do a lot more in-person group instructor meetings and yoga instructor meetings and music team meetings, which I love. Then I pick up the boys at 2:35, and we have our after-school extracurricular activities, whether it's gymnastics or soccer. We do our homework. Again, there might be some meetings scattered throughout the day, the afternoon, and make dinner for everyone, help with homework, and go to bed, kind of wake up and do the whole thing again. And so what I'll often do is I try and find a time or a space around 1:30, since I pick them up at 2:30, to do that second meditation.
Oh, okay. That's very good. So you were saying about that, when you get up really early, I guess.
I do.
To do
I
all
like
that.
to get up early.
Yeah.
And now it's become a little more of a habit where I just wake up naturally without an alarm clock. But I also like to be in bed at 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a night owl. I can't stay up late.
So when you do your classes there, is it a group effort and everyone kind of, because like there'll be a theme or whatever for the day?
I have an incredible production team and a producer, my executive producer. So we also have production management. So a lot of times they'll lay out a chart where maybe you haven't done a 20-minute class in a while, or a beginner class, or a theme class. So it's really neat because you can kind of see your chart that will map out for the month and get the specialty classes in, whether it's a Halloween theme class this month or an artist series class. I did that really interesting Taylor Swift class last month, which was amazing. And then I met up with one of my colleagues who also had a Taylor Swift class. So we do, also, that's a big part of our job. And that's another thing that I'm doing quite often throughout the day is social media. So I'm trying to think of fun things to share. Today, after I taught my Pilates class, I wanted to show a fun, quick little move. So I have a production assistant help me film something.
Oh, that's nice.
Or at home, I'll film something that I think is interesting.
On your personal one. Yeah.
Yes. And a lot of times it's, mostly Peloton related, but it could also be a tip that I have, a parenting tip that I came upon, or, something that I just want to share. Sometimes it's just fun pictures of the boys' first day of school. I think it's good for people to also see that your instructor, whoever it is you look up to, is still a real person and still has a life that they're juggling.
Yeah.
And we're all going through things together. And
well, I think that's what you're
not
so
superhuman.
Yeah, in your class, you talk about that a lot. You always throw in little things or things that you do or tips, and I think that's really good. Okay, so tell me about your family life when you were growing up. Your parents...
My parents are going on their 54th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
I think.
Oh, wow.
They met in 68 and married in 68 or 69.
Okay.
And then had my older brother and I are born on the exact same day. Really wild. August 31st. So my older brother, Craig, and I, 3 years apart. He's the one who lives in Boise, has a band. My younger brother is exactly 3 years younger, and he still lives in Pocatello, Idaho. So my whole family's still in Idaho.
Okay.
When we grew up, my parents... when we moved back to Pocatello, noticed there was a lack of theater, and they started a performing group.
Okay.
So my father's name is KC, or K period C period. So we had Casey and the Sunshine Kids growing up. And it was really fun. We would perform at like the World's Fair.
Oh, wow.
We went to New Orleans World Fair, Vancouver World's Fair. We performed all over southeastern Idaho. We'd perform at old folks' homes. We'd perform. It was just really awesome. At conventions, if someone wanted to hire us to come in.
That is really cool.
Really fun.
I bet you have a lot of great memories with that.
So many great memories. And I started looking through video footage from back then, too. It was so much fun.
Oh, my gosh.
And our dance teacher, Peggy Huerta, growing up, she had 3 kids as well, boy, girl, boy. And she was the choreographer. And my dad wrote the medleys, played the piano. My mom was like in charge of kind of riling up the kids and enthusiasm. And so it was really fun. That's what sparked my desire to perform.
Yeah.
And that's why I knew when I left or when I graduated that I needed to leave and go explore. Where am I going? And then New York City, of course, the place of theater,
the
and
playground
magic
for it all.
Yes, exactly.
So can people come and take the yoga classes there?
Yes, we have live classes Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
But how do they sign up for that?
So they open it up on the website, and you can reserve your spot in advance. And unfortunately, there's only 7 yoga mats, but it's also fortunate because it makes it very intimate. And yoga, I think, is a very intimate practice and space. So there's 7 opportunities in each class for yoga, but there's, I think, 30 in cycling, 30 bikes, and maybe 18 or 20 treadmills. I stayed after I taught my class last week, and I took Kirsten's power walk on the tread, and it was really fun. It's really neat to be a student and see the production going on, and just also notice the difference between like the treadmill versus the yoga, because the yoga studio can be a little more chill, and then you're on the tread and it's so like exciting and you've got that energy.
Yeah.
So we have all weekend long, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Tomorrow I have a live class at 8:30, and Sunday I have a 10:30 a.m. class. So it's really great. There's a lot of times I think, maybe eventually we'll open up more live slots. I don't know, but it makes it very, I think, exciting, and also it's kind of nice that there's a little bit of that exclusivity, that it's like, oh, I got in and I get to take class.
Yeah, and you get the top. It's fun to interact with people for you, probably.
I love it. Afterwards, we all get to take pictures in studio with the students, and it's really neat to hear the stories. There was a woman in my class who, during pandemic, lost her father, and she's my meditations, your yoga classes got me through. Makes me want to cry. Like there's people that come from all over the world to sit in or take a yoga class, and they have these incredible stories, or a high school teacher who's like, I have your mantra on my wall for the kids. So it's really neat.
That is pretty neat. So do you think that this fulfills if you started out wanting to do dance and acting, does this kind of fulfill that for you? Like, is this where you want to be?
It's almost like a combination of my 2 favorite things. Being able to teach something I'm super passionate about and I love, and that has gotten me through some of my darkest hours. And then being in a production world where it's that energy of a live set and a live audience and a live stage. And every time even if we don't have students in class, the lights go on and you're live for the audience, because people can take our classes on live.
Live, that's right. Yeah. I've never made a live one. I don't know why.
You need to. And then give me your leaderboard name so I can shout you out.
I'm always like, what class would I be on? Is that a lie? So you, do you, going forward, what is like, do you think this is kind of what you want to keep doing? Do you want to do more? Because
I love what I'm doing. You did mention the book. I wrote Chair Yoga, Sit, Stretch, and Strengthen Your Way to a Happier, Healthier You. That was with HarperCollins, and that was to remind people what we were talking about earlier, even 20 minutes a day, even if you're at your desk and you need to get a little bit of like chair yoga, and it's so good for us because we become so sedentary. I would love to write more books. So I've got quite a few different ideas of books in my mind that I would like to get out, especially children's mindfulness, meditation, yoga, teaching the family yoga classes and the family meditation classes on the platform. That's when sometimes I get some of the best direct messages on Instagram. Someone will say, my son had tremendous anxiety, and now he goes to sleep every night with your meditation, and he's finally sleeping through the night. Or is where I feel like I really am the most passionate, because I would love to inspire children and help them learn the coping skills earlier in life. Even with myself, I feel like if I had learned yoga during my tween age years, you just gain such a great understanding of your emotions, and you can tap in a little bit easier. And like we were talking about earlier, you can then respond as opposed to just reacting. It can manage anxiety. It can help you with overall health and well-being, and also being comfortable with yourself, because we're in yoga. I love that there's no mirrors. We're not judging ourselves from the outside. We're feeling ourselves from the inside. And there's just so many things I think we could bring our children.
Well, you talk about that like one of your biggest platforms is making it accessible for everybody.
Yes.
And easy to do. So I haven't listened to the meditation ones on Peloton, which I need to go do.
Yes,
but I
would
didn't
love
realize
that.
you did the family ones. And I think that's probably huge for a lot of kids, especially with all the social media and TV and things.
I worry about that. It's
Yeah.
very tough.
That is, I have to go listen to that. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that fear of missing out, because nowadays they can see what everyone's doing all the time. Back in the day when I grew up, you would have no idea who was hanging out on what evening.
No, but if you're not doing anything, you probably think, oh, am I being a loser because I didn't get invited? I mean, I think it would be really tough. I would not like that. Yeah. So that's
again,
a great
going back
tool.
to that inside feeling of like getting your own inner compass and building your own inner strength and feeling confident in yourself.
And having somebody lead it, though. I remember when my kids were little, I did a sports psychology class. It was
that's
it
cool.
was just at the gym. But it was
Yeah.
talking about doing meditation and with athletes and like watching the flame going in and out. And they said, start doing it with your kids like 5 minutes while you're waiting for the bus. When my kids were little, that 5 minutes was like, they were done in 2.
Oh, I bet.
And it was, just to teach that, you're like, okay, close your eyys, watch the flame, blah, blah, and they're like, okay, I got to go.
Gotta go. I'm done. I'm not sitting still anymore.
I'm like,
Alex
do you all
blows out the flame real
Yeah.
quick.
Right?
hops
Yeah,
on
Alex
the
is like,
bus.
okay, this is boring. We're
That
moving
is
on.
funny.
But to have somebody that could teach you that early on you're right. That'd be a life skill that could save you a lot of
Yes.
stress and trauma and anxiety.
And I'd love to keep on doing more of the programs that we're doing. Like I mentioned, the beginners program. I think that's great. Whether it's maybe the Diastasis program eventually. If there's a need for that. I think that it's great that we have this digital platform, this connected fitness that really brings a global community together, and we're all on our own path. We're all evolving together, but we're also supporting each other. So I just think continuing to create really great content and come up with fun ideas. I loved that Jess King came up with the All for One Music Festival that we hold now annually, where we bring together those music artist series, and each person, it's almost like you're at a live, stage festival.
Wait, is it different than doing, you mean they do it as a group class?
We do the All for One, and each instructor gets their own artist. And so I had John Mayer and Maroon 5 this year, which was amazing. I mean, I would love to do a class with James Taylor. Hopefully he's listening to it. Like the way I did a live class with Steve Martin. I would love to have him come in and play live.
Oh my gosh.
So
yeah, he's pretty good live.
he
sounds actually better live. If
Yes,
anyone,
he
if that's
does.
true, I'm like, that's the only person I've ever said that about.
Yes.
He sounds so good. Okay, so they come in live, but when you're talking about the group, what is that? Did they do a group class with more than one instructor?
No. Well, no, we've done 2-for-1s. Those are really fun.
Okay.
Ross and I did a 2-for-1 Beatles class. It was
Okay.
awesome. I would love to do more of those. I'm glad you reminded me of that. Maybe we can start to, I think for a long time we started to, like during the pandemic and during COVID, it was almost like you had to have more separation. But now that things are getting back to normal, we could have more 2-for-1 classes, which is really fun. Actually, maybe we could even do like tread and then like cycle and then yoga. I don't know. Maybe we could think of like fun stuff to do. It's really great for the community.
You really think through these things. You're very thoughtful about them. No, you are. I think that's really neat. That's why your classes are so good, because you think of a lot of these things. Like when I go through the class, I always leave. It's thought provoking, and I leave thinking I'm going to stay grounded for the day. So I think that's really good. Okay, so we always ask the person that's on to call their mom and say hello or that they love them. Do you mind doing that?
No, not at all. I would love to call my mom.
Every season is Mamitas season. You can take Mamitas to the football games. You can take it to play golf. You can have it at home when you're watching football. It's the season for Mamitas. Fun to use for Thanksgiving. Okay, I love Paloma, but spicy margarita is slowly going up to my favorite spot. The flavors are spicy margarita, Paloma, lime, mango, pineapple, and a tequila sunrise. So if you're up all night, you can have a tequila sunrise. You can buy them at Jewel Osco, Publix, Target, Walmart, and we will link the store locator below. Mamitas is made with real tequila. It's 1 gram of sugar, 2 carbs, and 95 calories. You cannot beat that. It's made with real tequila and natural flavors. This is the drink you want to go to. This is the drink that you can drink all day long.
Let me get her. She's actually super, super helpful, and she takes all my classes almost every day.
She does? Oh.
Hi, Mom. How are you?
If you want to just put it on speaker.
I just wanted to call and tell you how much I love you. I'm here right now with Kim, Content Kim, on her podcast.
Oh, fun.
And we were talking even about Sunshine Kids growing up and how you were always my inspiration for theater and dance and sharing enthusiasm with everyone.
Yep, and now you're my inspiration.
Oh,
that's
you.
so sweet.
Oh, I love you so much.
I love you, honey. So, are you having fun?
Yes, super fun. I love it.
What's her name?
Karen.
Good.
Karen.
Yes.
Karen, you raised a great daughter.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
she is great. I absolutely
We're all
agree.
K's. I love you.
Love you so much, honey.
Thank you. That's so
Oh,
sweet.
Thank you. I love that you do that. It's funny. I can't remember who I was talking to the other day, but someone was saying how important it is to call your parents. You know, wake up and call your parents, or just reach out. Even just reaching out to people and hearing their voice is really nice. Going back to even kids and our digital world and our social media society, and how much easier it is for them to almost hide behind a screen.
Yes.
Text or get on their iPads as opposed to being with people. And that's, I think, what's so amazing about the Peloton community is we actually do have these opportunities to reach people digitally, but also in person.
Mm-hmm.
So we're constantly growing our community.
Yes, it's a great platform, and you do a great job with it.
Oh, thank you.
So good luck with everything, and I loved having you on and hearing
I
all
loved
this.
being on. I'm so happy to meet you.
Yes, I'm happy to meet you too, and I can't wait to see what
Live
you do
class.
next. Yeah,
And
I'm
I
going to
need
do
your
a live
leaderboard
class.
name. You
I'm
and
gonna
your
do a live
husband
class.
both.
I'm going to go check out the meditation too.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Unfortunately, life does not come with a user manual, and sometimes life can be challenging. As a matter of fact, life will be challenging at some point in your life, and the more you can learn to handle it, the better you'll get through those challenging times in your life. Whether you're becoming a parent, you have a new relationship, you have a new job, you move to a new city. Sometimes you just feel stuck and unsure of yourself, and a therapist can help you through that and come out on the other side how you want to come out on the other side. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists. It's available online 100% of the time, plus it's affordable. You just fill out a questionnaire and you can get matched with a therapist. If things aren't clicking with that therapist, you can change therapists easily. No waiting room, no traffic, and no endless search for a therapist, which can be daunting, overwhelming, and discouraging. So this takes all that away. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/mothernowsbest. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/mothernowsbest. Mother knows best.